All right, well, it's summertime at the Jersey Shore and everywhere else. And you know what? There's certain things we have to think about. We have to think about water safety. We've had a lot of respiratory issues going around with all the smoke and the fires and lots of things to talk about. So we have our favorite doctor on call with us today. We're going to have a New Jersey checkup. So if you want to know more about the state of New Jersey, stay tuned. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. So I am so happy to have back with us today Dr. Meg Fisher, the one and only. Hi, Dr. Fisher.
Hi, delighted to be here.
So happy to have you with us. And just in case someone doesn't recall who you are, kindly just tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. I'm a pediatric infectious disease subspecialist, and I'm a special assistant to the to the Commissioner of Health here in New Jersey. And I also work at Monmouth Medical Center.
That's all. Just a few things. You're a busy lady, so I'm so happy that you're with me today. So for anyone who hasn't been watching FYI, and if you want to go back into our archives, you'll see many episodes where we were fortunate to have Dr. Fisher, and we talked a lot about COVID. But today we just have a very quick update, and then we're going to go on to some other important topics, right?
Yeah, so it's pretty good news about COVID. Mostly we're seeing less cases, less deaths, less hospitalization, but it's not totally gone. So there are new variants appearing all the time, and they are contagious. This is still spread person to person. So those of us who are at risk still need to take precautions. But I guess the most important thing to remember is if you have symptoms, if you feel like you have a cold, scratchy throat, don't feel well, get tested, particularly if you're at risk like I am, because there is very good medicine. So Paxlovid is an oral medicine, Furosemide is another oral medicine. So we have medicines now. So if you're sick, get tested, talk to your doctor, see if you should get treated. There's also some test to treat sites. So you can look them up on Google and find out where you can go, where you can get tested right away. And if you're positive, they can look at your medical information and see if you would benefit from an antiviral. And also, of course, if you're infected, don't spread it to others.
Yes.
Stay away, isolate yourself for the time.
Definitely. Don't go to work, don't go to school. Yes, absolutely. And let me just ask you one other question. Is it fair to say at this point in time, any primary doctor that you would go to would be well aware of the the medicines that are available for COVID?
It's hard to talk for every doctor, but certainly the vast majority of doctors will be aware and will know, what to do. But again, if you have any questions, check those test to treat sites and you can find information.
Okay, good. All right.
What you don't want to do, sometimes your own doctor, you have to wait for an appointment. You don't want to do that. If you test positive, you want to get started with medicine right away. So that's, contact your doctor. If you can get it with your own doctor, that's the best because your own doctor knows you best.
Okay. All right. So we're not done yet, guys, but we're on the upswing. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, you know what? Let's move on because, my God, there's so many things going on that are affecting our health. And not the least of all has all these respiratory issues that are going on for so many people. Whoops, technology is calling me. I forgot to turn off my phone. Let me do that right now. Sorry. Let's talk about that. Forest fires in Canada, reaching us here in New Jersey and in many other parts of the country. It's affecting a lot of us.
It certainly is. And I don't think any of us thought that we would ever become experts on what the colors are for air quality. But yeah, air quality has not been good. And again, if you're young and you're healthy, it's probably going to be okay. But even if it's just at moderate, take precautions. Don't spend a lot of extra time outside. Don't do a lot of vigorous exercise outside. Stay indoors, particularly if you have air conditioning, so you can really get rid of that, all those particles, all those smoke particles, all that trouble. So just be careful. And if you have underlying lung disease, it's particularly important. If you have asthma, it doesn't take much to trigger those asthmatic, problems. So be careful.
Yeah, I never imagined forest fires in Canada would be, affecting us this way, and literally seeing the haze in the sky. So yeah, yeah, it's very, very strange. So anyone with respiratory issues, you like me, I feel like I'm better off in the air-conditioned house whenever possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The heat has been the other thing.
Yes. Oh my God.
Fortunately, here in New Jersey, we're pretty reasonable, and it hasn't been excessive heat for a summer, at least not yet. But boy, if you're planning to go on vacation, you're going to Texas, you're going to Florida, you're going to Arizona. Some of those places have had extreme heat and continue to be under extreme heat warnings. So know what the signs of heat exhaustion are and heat stroke. So the first things you get are, you get a little fuzzy, you can't think quite right, you're thirsty. So make sure you take breaks, make sure you stay really well hydrated. If you stop sweating, that's a very bad sign. That's a very late sign that you're into heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And heat stroke is life-threatening. You need to immediately cool down and get medical help if you are going into heat stroke. If you're not thinking clearly, if you stop sweating, you are in danger of getting into significant trouble. So watch out, particularly watch out for your neighbors. If you have neighbors who are older, more seasoned, like I am, I just said this morning, I'm highly seasoned. If you have those people, particularly if they don't have air conditioning, check in on them, make sure they're okay, make sure they know where the cooling centers are, and make sure that they're getting enough fluids and staying healthy.
So let's just mention that about hydration, because I have learned from working at SCAN that seasoned people are typically not good at drinking enough water or staying well hydrated, and that obviously is a big problem. So what do you want to say to people about hydration?
So it's especially important when it's warm outside and when you're going outside. I think in the past we've kind of overdone it with hydration. We have to drink so many quarts of water a day.
Gallons, quarts.
They've kind of really overdone that, but it's not overdone during the summer. So we know that when it's hot, you're going to lose more fluid because you're sweating, because you're maybe breathing faster, you're uncomfortable. So take a little extra fluid. And plain old water is probably the best fluid. If you're in a situation where it's hot outside, alcoholic beverages are actually not recommended. Remember, even things like tea and coffee that serve as diuretics that make you urinate more are going to make you lose more water. So just plain old straight water will do the trick and keep you hydrated. You may need a little salt, but so you can have a potato chip on the side. But main thing is enough water.
Doctor's order, that potato chip is okay. Maybe even a Frito. But yeah, I think it's really important to be very much aware of the temperature outside before you embark on something highly physical, and stay hydrated. Yeah,
absolutely.
And water safety, that's another topic that here we are, it's beach time, pool time, lots of things going on with that too, Dr. Fisher.
You bet. And thank you for mentioning that, because we just had a tragic drowning of a young child. And what we really want to remember is children need to be watched all the time.
Every second.
You know, when you least expect it, they will find a way to get into trouble. So one of the important things about pools, if you have pools at home, there should be a fence around them, all the way around them, 360 degrees around them. So one of the problems can be that the pool, that one of the sides is your house and the back door opens onto the pool. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Oh,
And
I see what you're saying, right, because
unfortunately,
Yeah.
your children can open that back door and walk out into the pool. You don't even know they're out there, and they can get into trouble. If you do have the gates all the way around, that's fantastic. Make sure they're high enough, and make sure you're not leaving things beside the gates so that children can climb up and over the gate. So we've had several tragedies. We had a 4-year-old who climbed up over, you know, there was just a bunch of stuff laying next to the fence, and he climbed up and over the fence and then fell into the pool. So just watch out if you have pools at home, and remember, even those little kiddie pools, a toddler can drown in an inch of water. So buckets, toddler pools, I'm not saying don't have them, because of course, particularly in this kind of heat, we want the pools, we want to cool off, we want to enjoy summer, we want to enjoy each other, but do it safely. So if you go to a pool party, remember there should always be a designated adult watcher, or responsible teenager is fine, but someone who's watching the children, because it's so easy to get distracted. You're talking to someone, you're having a great conversation, and you don't remember where your little one went.
And kids have a way of going 100 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
When you least expect it. And you know, that was interesting what you said about the fence, and there were things that they could just literally climb over the fence. So that's something I would have never even thought about. So it's not enough to just have the fence. You can't have any sort of ladder or, you know, help ways for people to, you know, little kids to get right over the fence. It's got to be clear. That's a good point. And, you know, if you're having a pool party, which again, I'm all in favor of it, and, you know, there's alcohol involved. Again, I like the idea of a designated watcher, because it just takes a moment for a kid or even an adult who's not careful
to get in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just kids that we have to worry about. It's even adults, because, you know, we also have to realize that not all adults know how to swim.
Good point. Very good point.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up learning how to swim at a very early age. And as I got older, I have met more and more adults who never learned how to swim. And that did surprise me. So that's a hazard right there.
Exactly. And I think there's lots and lots of adults who don't swim. So important.
Be careful out there.
Yeah. One other thing to talk about is, you know, we love the beach. We love our beach. Our beaches are wonderful, but be careful when you're at the beach. There are a couple safety things there. If there's a big riptide, be careful about, you know, going into the ocean. Always watch your children closely while you're at the beach. And then the one thing we don't think about are sand injuries. And we had a tragic, sad sand injury years ago where they were building a tunnel under the sand, and one of the children climbed into the tunnel. The tunnel collapsed on the child, and the child was suffocated. So the rule is you shouldn't be digging deeper than your knees. And it's whatever size you are. So if you're a little kid, it's a little kid size knee. So, you know, not necessarily the adult knee. So just be careful about digging. We all love to dig in the sand, but don't dig so deeply, but mainly don't have those tunnels that can potentially fall and smother someone.
I know as a kid, we all thought we were digging to China.
Of course.
Stop doing that.
Right.
Stop doing that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. A lot of hazards, but there's no substitute for, just being a watchful parent or a watchful grandparent. And if paying attention to what the lifeguards have to say as well. A lot of people think they're going to outsmart a rip current, and that's how they get themselves in big, big trouble. Don't do that.
Yeah. And it's safest to be on a guarded beach. A lot of some of our beaches here on the Jersey coast don't have lifeguards. So, think about it. If you have the option, go to a guarded beach if you have young children, especially if you have young children.
I know a lot of times I do see people after hours, the lifeguards are gone, and all right, so you're not paying money to get on the beach. I get that. But it does bother me when I see people in the water at that point, because there are no lifeguards. And I just feel that's you're really reckless, especially if you have kids in the water. So you got to think about that too. It's not worth saving the money if someone drowns in an unguarded beach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, we do have a spot of very good news for you to share about a vaccine.
Oh, yeah, this is very exciting news.
This is big news.
We have a new vaccine. So we have a vaccine against respiratory syncytial virus, which people call RSV.
RSV.
Respiratory syncytial virus. And what's exciting about that, you may remember back this past year, we had the so-called triple-demic. The triple-demic was influenza, RSV, and COVID-19 all at the same time. So we have vaccines against influenza, we have vaccines against COVID, and we're going to get a new COVID vaccine in the fall. So hopefully we're going to be protected against influenza and COVID. But now we have an RSV vaccine that's been approved for use by the Food and Drug Administration. And the recommendation is that people 60 and older they should discuss it with their doctor as to whether they should get this vaccine. It is people who are older or have underlying lung problems or are immunocompromised. So people with cancer, people with transplants, all of those older adults can get into really significant trouble with respiratory syncytial virus. So this is a really good thing. There are some unknowns about the vaccine, so it didn't get recommended as that absolutely you should have this. It got recommended as you should talk to your doctor about this. And again, I can't tell you often enough, I'm a great believer in a medical home. Have a doctor that knows you, that's known you for a while, because they can give you the best information on, what's best for you, under whatever circumstances you have. So talk to your doctor, see if this medicine's for you if you're 60 years and older. And then the really exciting news for a pediatrician is we now have a monoclonal antibody, a shot that can protect young infants from respiratory syncytial virus, from RSV. So RSV is one of the most common reasons that very young infants get hospitalized. And it's because it causes pneumonia for them. And we know that people who get RSV pneumonia are more likely to develop asthma later in life. So if we could prevent this pneumonia, I think we could really prevent some chronic lung problems, for the future.
Right.
This medicine, it's a single shot. You give it to an infant at the beginning of RSV season, or if they're born during RSV season, right at the time, right after they're born, and it protects them for 6 months against RSV. So this is really a game changer. We won't know until August, when the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices meets, exactly what they're going to suggest. But the licensure is this product is going to be licensed for all infants and toddlers under 2 years of age, and it would be given for the first season, the first RSV season, because that's when you're most likely to get that lower lung disease and get into trouble. So it'll be a game changer.
Dr. Fisher, for someone who might not know what RSV is, can you just explain that a little bit more? Because
Sure. So
adults can get it as well.
you bet. Everybody can get it. It's a virus. It's called respiratory syncytial virus. Respiratory because it's spread by coughing, by those droplets, same way that influenza spread and COVID is spread. And it's also spread because when you cough, your droplets can fall onto a surface and then they can get on your hands and you can then, rub your nose or rub your eyes and you can hand it to someone else in that way. So it's spread person to person by the respiratory route and by those droplets and by contact. And it's called syncytial because when you grow the virus in a tissue culture, it causes the cells to merge to form a syncytium, and then virus because it's a virus. So that's RSV. It causes outbreaks of respiratory disease every single year. Even during COVID. During COVID, we had a little less, and then we had it out of season. So we're waiting to see this year whether it will be back in the usual season. Usually it starts in about November and goes through March. This past year, it was very early. It started in September, but then it was over early as well. So we're hoping that this single shot will protect children from getting RSV lung disease. It may not totally protect them from getting the virus at all, but it will protect them from getting sick from the virus. So very, very exciting news.
So you were saying that is actually the number one reason why most little babies wind up in the hospital.
That's it is today. Okay. It used to be diarrhea was the most common reason, but I would say RSV is pretty much taken over. So, and we got rid of diarrhea because we got rotavirus vaccine. So, the vaccines, people are still a little hesitant about vaccines, but I'll tell you, vaccines save lives. They keep children out of the hospital, and we want them out of the hospital. That's where we want everyone.
Nobody ever wants to be in the hospital, and I like to think that we're all doing everything we possibly can to, do the right thing for ourselves and not go to the hospital. So, yeah. Now, just as a reminder too, because September will be here, back to school, everything starts up again. Do you want to say some final thoughts about getting ready for the fall?
Sure. So for those of you with children, it's time to get ready.
Or grandchildren.
But we can all help. So what you want to be sure is that your children have all the vaccines they need so that they can start school, safely and be protected. And it's a very good time to touch base with your pediatrician. For me, I think pediatricians are the best people to take care of children, but of course, family physicians can also take care of children very well. So talk to your doctor, have a pediatrician or family physician that knows you, knows your family, can give you the best advice. Get that back to school visit scheduled early if you can. Remember, it'll be time for the pre-participation physicals. So if your children or grandchildren are going to take part in football or soccer or field hockey, or now a lot of the sports go year round. So whatever sports that they may be doing, they may need to get that pre-participation physical. So it's a good idea to get them scheduled in advance so that they don't miss practice or, miss the opportunity of being with their friends.
So, for myself, I'm not getting ready to go to school or be in a sport, but I kind of use fall as my timeline to get all my annual physical and all my, my blood work. And that's like okay, everyone's kind of back to school, back to everything. And so reminding everyone, take care of yourself, see your doctor, get a wellness checkup, make sure you have that physical. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself.
Yeah. And it'll be time for flu shots and COVID shots, come September, October. So there's always something that we can do to improve our health and, stay healthy and enjoy the summer and get ready for the fall.
You know what, Dr. Fisher, one last question. Do you foresee a time when a COVID shot and a flu shot will be combined so that we don't have to have two different shots?
So they worked on it and it didn't, apparently at least the first try didn't work so well. So that's why we don't have one this year.
Okay.
Will we have one in the future? No doubt, but not quite yet. And it's complicated when you try to mix the shots because what you have to show is that the combined shot is at least as good as the two shots separately.
Okay.
And sometimes that's not so easy to do. So, I don't know if it'll maybe next year, but maybe not for several years. But I think of it this way. You have a shot in each arm, it just makes things balanced.
That's one way, like carrying two packages. Okay. That's a good way to look at it. Well, Dr. Fisher, always a pleasure to talk to you, kind of get some updated information. We have lots of good news, lots of things for people to think about. We will catch you again before the end of this year. I promise you that. And I just want to remind everyone, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr, and we'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone, and bye, Dr. Fisher.
Bye-bye. Take care, everyone.